Okay, I want to do a quick tutorial about how to make a basic drum beat in SongFormat. So let's start a new file called drumbeat.song. And we're going to start with our default section. And by the way, there is documentation about all of this on the SongFormat documentation, but I'm just going to go ahead and put the defaults up here. So we'll give it a beats per minute of, let's just say 120. And for scales, we're not going to need any scales since we're going to be doing a drum beat. And we won't need any chords either since we're not using any kind of instruments that make notes. And then let's define what instruments we need. So to get started, we're just going to use a basic set of drums, and we will use a sound font that was mentioned in the documentation, general user -gs, to play drums. And that should be our one instrument. And then we're going to go down to our first section. We'll give this a name. We'll just call it maybe like intro beat or something like that. And we're going to give it a set of tracks. And so there will be this one track here that's going to play using our drums instrument. So if you look at the documentation, there are a bunch of available drum sounds that we can use. So let's go ahead and we'll try doing just like a basic bass drum, snare drum, bass drum, hi-hat, and we'll go ahead and repeat that 2 times. We can look at our structure here to see what that's going to look like. This is basically like a drum keyboard. And if we hit play, we can hear what that sounds like. Let's go ahead and make this a little more interesting. We can go in. So these are all quarter notes right now, in a sense. And so this is what corresponds to our 120 beats per minute. And we can multiply this length by half to make that basically an eighth note. And then we can put in another eighth note. So we're going to basically duplicate our snare drum, turn it from a quarter note into 2 eighth notes, and see what that sounds like. Okay. And then if we want, we can continue with this. Maybe we'll do some bass drum times 4. So we get 4 quarter notes in a row. And then we'll do it at twice the speed here with some eighth notes and play 8 of them. Let's go and see how that sounds. And then another thing we could do here is we can set up another drums instrument. And for this one, I want to show you how this would sound on the synth drums. Let's start with that, and we'll call this drums synth, maybe. Like that. And so we can change this over to drums synth, and then let's see what this sounds like. So a little bit of a different sound. And the other thing we can play with here is we can maybe give this a compressor, the drum bus compressor that I found in the documentation, and see how this sounds. So that's kind of cool. And then maybe I want to end on a crash, and I'll do the crash using the sound font drums, so it's not getting compressed. And so we want the crash to be on the last note here. And if I add up all these beats here, I'm seeing a total of, this would be 8 beats plus 4 is 12 beats, plus another 4 is 16 beats. So we'll start this track with a 16 beats of rest and then end on the crash. Check out our structure here and we see the original drum pattern followed by the crash. So let's play that.